Welcome to the world of stand-up. So what I heard, and I don't know if this is true or not, I've never seen any of the specifics. I heard that Yeezy accounts for 60% of the sales at Adidas.
That's what I heard.
That's bananas.
Did you also hear he came out and said Sway did have the answers?
Yeah, I saw that.
You saw that?
How Sway? How was Sway? And then he's like, yeah, he's got that shit-eating grin. Like, Sway did have the answers.
He did have the answers.
That was funny, dude.
Yeah,
I like that.
saw that.
I like that guy, dude. Okay, I gotta admit something, and you motherfuckers cannot judge me here, okay? So the wife and I just recently started watching the Kardashians show.
The one on Hulu?
Yeah, like the new one.
Okay.
Okay. I can feel your judgment, bro. Like, that's not cool.
No, I won't verbalize any judgment.
Okay, I'm gonna present an idea to you that might make you look at these things different. Okay. So anyway, there was like the whole dynamic of what was going on with Ye and the divorce and Kim and Skeet.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to watch kind of how that guy just handles his shit, because he just handles it.
Ye?
Yeah. He doesn't put up with nothing.
Well, he doesn't put up with nothing, but I mean, I wouldn't call that handling his shit. Unless you think like, I mean, because it's to me it's like it's like a freak out. It's like a public freak out.
Yeah, but
I mean,
we only think that's out of line because we don't have the balls to do it that way ourselves.
I mean, it does take balls to buy the house across the street.
Yeah.
From your ex.
Yeah.
So you can see what's going on.
Yeah, there was an episode we watched where like he got hired like a fire truck and a bunch of firemen to drive his kids to school.
That's dope.
It's kind of dope.
That's dope.
And Kim was there like being cool. Anyway, I was going to say this. Before I watched that show, I used to hate on that show. And I used to be like, Kim Kardashian is a vapid piece of shit. Kris Jenner is the devil. Like, Caitlyn, whatever. Khloe's sweet. But, everybody has their idea, right? I started watching that show and no shit. That show is 100% about winning. If you watch them, she's getting Vogue's cover of the year. She's doing SNL. Like, it's all this like list of shit where they're just succeeding. And it's crazy because my wife is the same age as Kim Kardashian.
Well, two of them are billionaires, right?
Yeah, Kim is and Kylie.
Yeah.
And like Kris, who's the manager, she's worth $400 million. Khloe's worth like $80 million. She's just along for the ride, Kendall Jenner, she's a supermodel that's like fully like she's on everything.
Whatever happened to their brother?
That's a good question.
I ain't seen that dude.
I ain't seen that dude either. He's off brand, I guess. He's
not hurting though. He's not hurting though.
Oh, for sure, dude. But it was I had to slow my roll with the judgment because I'm like, dude, to be 41, I don't care that she got her start with Ray J dicking her down.
I mean, there's some articles coming out saying that was all staged.
It was like, and I get that.
There's two or three other videos that they're gonna, could have been released.
That was in one of the shows I watched. Kanye went and worked the deal and got him from Ray J.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's never gonna be released. And here's the thing: Ray J is pissed that Kim was acting on the show like she was the victim.
Oh.
Because it came out that basically there was 3 videos to choose from when they came out 20 years ago, and Kris and Kim chose the one they were going to release. And I'm like, oh my God,
really?
imagine sitting around with your mom. Hey, Mom, where do I look hottest while he's dicking me down? Like, I never want to talk with my mom like that,
But it was a good choice for them.
Dude, yeah. I mean,
if you can swallow your pride, among other things, look where they're at now.
Yeah, dude. My whole point was is that like I'm watching this person and like you see, they get tons of criticism for whatever, and a lot of it's justified, and a lot of it's just hate because of jealousy. But dude, they seem like a cool family. They all are into each other. Like they're all like cool and supportive of one another, which you don't see that anymore nowadays. Everybody hates their family. Secondly, they're fucking winning, dude. So many things that are killing.
For me, I don't hate. I really don't. If I could be in their shoes, hell yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My biggest hang up with them is their mindset. Like it's not the winning mindset. It's just some of the their ideas.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's just such an opposite world from where I come from.
Yeah, for sure.
And I can appreciate you probably have to have a different mindset to achieve their level of success.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily what I'm referencing, but just some of the things they say, I'm just like,
it's true, dude. Well, and I think one of the reasons why they keep that show is because it like allows them a platform to like.
There's
do
so
their
many
own
people
narrative.
that watch it.
Oh, tons.
Still, I mean,
Dude, Ryan Seacrest is the executive producer of that, and he's been that since the 20 years ago. That motherfucker is flossing just from the Kardashians.
He's.
And I have to tell you something, as a comedian that's funny to me right now, to have a hard motherfucker like you sitting here talking about the Kardashians or stuff.
Look, I'm diverse. I'm diverse. Okay.
This is David Goggins looking motherfucker over here.
You know what I mean? Like, I play video games and work out. I watch, Singing in the Rain.
Ooh.
And
like old school musicals?
Yeah, I grew up both my grandma, my mom loved that stuff.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I appreciate that. That's
and
good.
But I also, my first movie me and my brother ever watched in theaters when I think I was 4 or 5, was Die Hard. You know what I mean? And so I get down like that too.
Okay.
Just some John.
So since you're bringing that up, is Die Hard a Christmas movie or is it an action movie? Because that's every Christmas. It's like you got to watch Die Hard. It's like, well,
I'm gonna say yeah.
Yeah, to which
because
one?
That's a Christmas movie.
Okay.
Because if you're not watching it the rest of the year, only when it's around Christmas, then it's a Christmas movie.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
I like it. Dane Peterson, everybody, welcome to the show, my man.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. You have a great story, and and plus, you're a cop, so it's fun to have a cop that you're friendly with, at least when you're not in uniform.
Drop my name, man.
I should have, dude. My wife, we were coming down from Oktoberfest on Sunday, and we're just in Sandy right there by the McDonald's and stuff on 2000 East and 94. And we're just going like 50 or something.
Drop my name,
this
man.
guy's sitting right there, pulls us over. She got a ticket. I didn't know to drop your name because I didn't know you were a Sandy PD guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I get around.
Okay.
West Jordan, Salt Lake, West Valley.
So you're a police officer. You're a detective.
Detective now, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're on the beat?
It's the family crimes unit. I mostly deal with domestic violence, child abuse.
Ooh. So the fun stuff. You get to see some shit you can't unsee, it seems like.
Definitely. Definitely. That's how it's been my entire career. I started off down at the prison, and you watch prison movies,
yeah,
and you're like, damn, that shit is crazy. The stuff you see in the movies, it don't even compare.
Right.
I'm dead serious. It don't even compare. That
seems like a common theme, man. I'll tell you this just real quick story before we finish on this, but a guy that I know really well, he used to be a spy in the CIA, and he was in Reagan's White House as an advisor.
Okay.
And it was like 10 years ago. We were talking a lot. We'd both get a little drunk and just get on the phone and chat with each other while my wife was playing bunco or some shit, He's old. He's like in his 70s. Really interesting guy. I was watching House of Cards, and I go, is this shit real, man? He's like, dude. He's like, this is child's play compared to what's real. And I'm like, really? He's like, oh, you have no idea. And I go, tell me one thing that is a lie that Americans are told to believe that is true. Did I say that right? Tell me something that's true that Americans are believe is a lie. And he goes, the idea that we don't negotiate with terrorists. He's like, we give them so much fucking money, trying to get information and everything. I'm like, anyway,
I've heard. I've been in some
there's
circles.
That level, and then there's you with the family crimes unit, where like you won't believe it. It's not.
Well, family crimes, but like I said, at the prison, I'm grateful I started down off at the prison, where you just kind of get thrown in the fire. Because when you're out here, when you're out here on the street, not everyone's a criminal. You know what I mean? There's gonna be situations and issues and incidents that you respond to. That there's gonna be people that are innocent, people that are bystanders, and then there's maybe 1, 2, 3 suspects. In the prison, everybody's a suspect.
You're like, it's easy. I know what I mean. Did it.
And and the key is. My thing was just be ready for anything. You really have to. Any day, any given second, even something can pop off, and you're like, "Holy shit! What the hell? What the hell is going on?" Like shit can pop off in an instant.
Yeah.
There was a time where we were walking the blocks when I was on the SWAT team down there, and dudes just started shanking each other. Couple rival gang members that were undocumented. Were out, and they just started shanking each other in the yard.
When you say they're undocumented, it means that like they weren't in the system as a gang member, or
yes. So
they know about that.
Corrections has a system where if they're a known gang member, they're documented, and so that way they can be housed separate from certain gangs. So that way it doesn't cause a riot or a fight or shanking or worse.
So this guy slipped through the system. 2 of them did.
And the thing was, these two of these guys were probationers. They're trying to prove themselves to actually make it onto the gang. Or I don't know that. I'm not familiar with that lingo, but they were trying to prove themselves. So shit gets real in the prison. I mean, I've seen some shit. Like you said, I will never unsee. I will never unsee. And when I see or hear certain things in life, that shit just comes right back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Have you had to do therapy or any sort of thing to like kind of handle it?
No, I'm a huge no. I haven't. I'm a huge proponent for people that need it. Please, yeah, absolutely, go get that. You know what I mean? But part of the reason why is because the way that I was raised was in a hard ass household. My father came from the island of Samoa. He was raised in Samoa. And his father, my grandfather, I guess if you think about child abuse, if you think about the worst child abuse case that you've heard, that shit is probably an understatement when it comes to
like a Tuesday.
What my father went through. You know what I mean? If he got picked on at school, my grandfather would walk my father to wherever that kid's house was and make my dad beat his ass, or else he was gonna get fucked up if he came home. And then, and that happened all the time. There was an instance where I can't remember what the issue was with my father, but my grandfather tied him to a post and beat the shit out of him until my grandfather was tired. And it ended up breaking his collarbone and I think one of his arms. And he left him tied there all night till the next day.
Holy shit.
Yeah, all day.
How is
all night.
Your grandpa not in jail, bro? Like
Samoa, man. You know what I mean? There's no like child abuse laws over there. It even got to a point where I don't know if you know a lot of Polynesians, but child abuse is that's like second nature. You know what I mean? We grow up with that.
There's an anger there.
For sure.
Yeah.
And an expectation of discipline and respect, and so it got so bad with my grandfather and my dad that a lot of the people from the village rushed over to stop my grandfather from what he was doing to my father. I mean, so if you can even imagine that's how horrible it was. And so him growing up with that, and that's all he knows, like my grandfather's walking over to people's houses to beat their ass. So in his mind, he's like, I gotta be the fucking alpha.
Right.
Or my dad's gonna beat the shit out of me. And he's going through all this shit, just like slowly like destroying him, but also toughening him up. Like that saying, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. That shit was real with my dad. And that's the man I grew up with.
So is your father still alive?
He passed away in January 2018.
Okay. Had he softened in his older age? Did he start to see that maybe that wasn't the way?
He softened because after high school, he still beat my ass. Because my dad, like, if you look at me, like, my dad in his prime, like, he makes me look small, And so, I mean, where do I start? I think one time when I was a kid, I was washing dishes too loud. I mean, I was being a good boy. Yeah. You know what I mean? I was washing dishes too loud. And he grabbed a kitchen chair and I think I told you before, and he just threw that shit and broke it on me. That was the norm. That's what I knew, I mean, it wasn't uncommon for my dad to hit me with a closed fist. You know what I mean? That's part of...
What did your mom think about this?
My mom hated it, and she is the main reason why he ended up changing and doing a complete 180. She did her best to protect us, but he grew up a savage.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so for me and for, my brother, it's hard for us to really blame my dad because of what he went through, And I mean,
hold on. What an interesting sort of perspective of forgiveness. And this guy's, I mean, let's pull you out of the situation and not look at it that it's your father, but look at it. There's a young boy. There's a dad. The dad had some shit from his dad. Like, that's rough, dude. And to like be able to have compassion for him when you're getting your licks. I don't know if that's submission or if that's maturity. Like, that's a rough place to be, you know, regardless to be in
It
that
was
situation.
almost like a forced maturity. You know what I mean? Because where else was I going to go? Yeah. You know what I mean? Our family was broke. We were poor. You know what I mean? I had nowhere else to go. Any other family I was going to go to, they was just as broke as us and probably couldn't afford to take me on. You know what I mean? So it may have been a forced maturity, but at the same time, as much energy as my dad brought to that scary, abusive side, he also brought that same amount of energy and maybe even more to the teaching side. And he realized his demons pretty early on when I was a kid. And even when I grew up and had my own kids and stuff, I mean, there wasn't a time when I sat with him and hung out with him and spent time with him where he wasn't still apologizing for what he did to us when I was younger. You know, and so for me,
so he did soften that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I've looked up to him my entire life. One of the things that helped me to just not be scared of anything was he was so fucking scary, and he hit me so fucking hard that even to this day, I've never been hit harder than anyone else by anyone else. And that's including, I'm talking about, and I play football a little bit.
Right.
And I got my bell rung. And I'm like, no, my dad still hit harder than that motherfucker. You know what I mean? So
that's a funny thing to say. Can't you hit me harder? My dad hits harder than you.
That's exactly right. It's like, my first fight, I get hit and I'm like, I thought he was playing around because I was like, Is that it? Because my dad hit harder than, you know what I mean? Like, so it all kind of adds to the mindset that I slowly developed that for a while I didn't realize I was developing. I was terrified of my father. I respected the hell out of him. And in his older age, he really turned into a fantastic teacher, trying to use his own experience on having me and my brother, and be better than him. I mean, I read an email from him that I had, from years ago, and that's the last thing he said is be better than me, And so, for me, I just took on that mindset of like, I'm not scared of anything, and I need to be better than him. And he works his ass off on whatever he does. When I started at the prison, when I was in the academy, we had a class that was taught by the SWAT team. And when I saw them walk in, they walked in with like a vibe that was like, oh shit. You're like, I need to get my shit together.
Yeah.
I wanted to be that. As soon as I saw them, I didn't even hear them teach yet. I was like, that I'm gonna do that.
What do you think made that vibe happen? Like there's that vibe is constructed somehow, like it's built. So for them to have that sort of effect on you, they come with a certain energy, a certain swag, a certain confidence.
They walked in, they didn't say shit. They just walked in. I don't know if it was their body language or their posture, or all the above, but they walked in with like such a confidence that if whatever incident was in front of them, they could handle that shit. And I was like, I want to be that. I want to do that. So after the class, I talked to the lieutenant that came in, the SWAT lieutenant that came in, and I was like, I want to do this. And he's like, as soon as we get an opening, test for it. 2.5 years later, I had been, in my mind at that time, I had been training, running every day, couple miles, lifting weights, and just getting ready to test to be a part of this team.
Right.
I test number one. Out of 75 guys, I test number one. So I'm thinking, I'm the shit, dude. Like, I put my mind to this shit.
Right.
All that shit you hear about, like, if you believe, you can achieve. I was like, I believe that shit.
I'm living an R. Kelly song. Right
yeah,
now.
I was like, I'm number one. Fuck yeah, I'm the best. A couple weeks later, I learned real quick I wasn't shit. Real quick that there's levels to this shit. Like they say, there's levels to this shit.
Yeah.
And I was at the bottom. What I thought was, my highest peak was scraping the bottom of the barrel.
So what was it about that swag that you saw and then the dip that continued to inspire you? Because you ended up becoming a SWAT team member, and it's been a part of, like, are you currently on SWAT?
No, not anymore.
So you were. Now you're just.
Yeah. I made SWAT. I even got promoted to sergeant on the SWAT team.
Okay.
At 3 years or 3.5 years.
Okay.
Youngest SWAT sergeant.
Okay, so what does that mean? If you're the sergeant on a SWAT team, what does that mean? What do you do?
So we have on our team at that time, we had 2 crews, and so I was and each crew took time being on a call. They took time, if there was an incident popping off down at the prison, we would handle it. So I was in charge of my own crew to handle disturbances, incidents within the prison or within corrections as a whole. And so I was the team leader for my own SWAT team. I guess my own portion of the SWAT team. But to get to that point from when I tested, there was a massive gap there.
Sure.
Massive gap. And me coming in thinking I'm the shit now, like that's who I am. Like, it was, I learned real quick that no.
Yeah. So I'm going to re-ask the question because I'm not think I'm getting it from you. What?
Oh,
does
so
SWAT
what
do?
what was
What do you do?
So the SWAT team, basically, if law to put it simply, if law enforcement, if cops need help, they call SWAT.
Okay.
If they can't do it, we come in and do it.
What does SWAT stand for?
It's Special Weapons and Tactics.
Okay.
So
So it's the Mario mushroom for cops, like
pretty much you take that star,
little team Mario's jumping around. You're like, oh,
yeah, exactly.
Got it.
So, but that vibe, like you were kind of alluding to, it was just that confidence. And I think looking back now, it kind of reminds me of how my dad was. Because we'd have friends come over or just random people would come and meet my dad, and they were already intimidated. And they would just see him. They wouldn't even have a conversation. They were just already intimidated. That's how he walked around, And that's I got a little bit of that vibe when they walked in to teach that class that day. And I really looked up to my dad. I really wanted to emulate that and then be better than that. So what did I have to do? I had to be harder than these guys. I had to be tougher than my dad. And that was a huge, huge task in my mind.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, man, what my dad went through, how the hell am I supposed to push past that? Well, during training for SWAT, you are a potential team member until you successfully complete SWAT school and until you successfully complete the law enforcement academy. Our next SWAT school for us was a year out. So from that point on, I realized they would train us every single day. We worked 5 days a week, so they train us every day. And it's almost like a miniature boot camp, because once you clock in, if they told you get your ass on the front lawn, grab all your gear, that's exactly what we were doing. If they told us to get our ass on the obstacle course and pick up that fucking old telephone pole, that's exactly what we're doing. And that's how that shit was every day for a year.
How would it compare to like Buds training for SEALs?
Buds is top tier.
Sure.
And I would say
elements that are similar.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. When I watch Buds, as I was training for SWAT, I was like, oh, we do that shit, or we've been through that shit. All that swimming shit, that's we don't touch that. We didn't get into that really, which was kind of to my downfall, because the Salt Lake SWAT School, their old lieutenant was ex-SEAL, and he had us doing swim PT all the time. I drowned twice in that school because I was like, fuck that, I'm not quitting. I'll drown in this motherfucker before I quit. And that shit, they had to pull me out twice. But I learned real quick that every day they're training us, they can only take us to a certain point, and then the day's over. We go home and all that. And I was like, okay, they can only push me to a certain point. I have no fucking limit to where I can push myself. So I started tailoring my own personal workouts. After we train all day at work, I would go home and train myself. I'd say, okay, we need to keep our gun out for hours because that's what they want us to do. So I started tailoring shit to just strengthen my shoulders. Oh, we're gonna fucking run everywhere in gear. So I started looking for amphitheaters and stairs and hills and eventually a mountain to push myself so fucking hard so that when I get back to work to train, that shit's a breeze. I wanted to push myself so fucking hard so that when I'm training with these guys, it's like I'm not even sweating. That was my goal. And there wasn't like a specific time where the light just clicked on. I'm like, fuck my limits. I'm going to push past that shit.
Okay, so I want to dissect this a little bit because as we discussed before we started recording, it's been an interesting morning for me. I got to hang out a little bit with Tim Grover, author of Relentless and Winning, and Kobe Bryant's coach.
The greatest.
Michael Jordan's coach.
Second greatest.
Yeah, ooh, gauntlet thrown. I'm curious about your motivation in this because, and I'll share this with you. Tim shared this story about true success and true winning, and he gave it as an allegory of two pots. He's like, there's these two pots, and each pot has a wizard. And this pot over here on the left is called motivation. And it's got the let's goes. It's got the you can do it. It's got the you're turning on the speech and you're getting fired up. And everybody likes this pot. And everybody over at this pot is buddies and they're cool. And they're lighting each other's fires over on this pot. But they don't win. And the other pot is for elevation. Not motivation, elevation. And over here, it's late nights and early mornings. It's being a self-starter. It's lighting your own fire. It's knowing why you're doing it. It's actually winning. It's having few friends. It's prioritizing winning and your goal, being obsessed with your goal over everything else. And he says the problem is that most people think that you go to the motivation pot to win. You don't. But this pot is a different one because it's all you. And he says that doubt and lack of confidence are most of the time created by other people that you buy into. And that you still have control. And the way that you control that and the way you get more confidence and the way that you remove doubt is through winning. He's like, fear is instinctual. You're going to feel fear. You don't have to feel doubt.
Yeah.
And so when I hear a story like this from you, I'm like, why? Like, what was the goal? What were you obsessed with that made you already take this day-to-day arduous training and be like, that's not enough. I'm going to go do this stuff other here so this gets easier. That's a different gear, bro. Like, where does that come from?
So when I saw those guys walk in the classroom, I was like, that's me. I want to do that.
Okay.
And when I got to the house and I was, posted at the house as my position, I was like, damn, these guys are on another level. At that time, the first couple weeks, I was like, I don't know if I can even reach where these guys are at. And it wasn't until maybe a couple months in that I started to notice they can only push themselves so hard. They can only push me so hard. And I don't, like I said, there's not a definitive time. I learned that I don't have any fucking limits. I learned that if I see a workout and that shit's hard, if you're looking at, oh damn, that shit's hard, I'm gonna try to think of any way possible to make that shit disgustingly evil to where you look at it like you're gonna fucking get destroyed doing this. And so I looked at it as like, I'm gonna destroy myself. So when these fucking guys try to train me at work, they can't touch me. And it wasn't long before I surpassed every single one on that fucking team. It wasn't even close after a while. And so the week after we graduated SWAT school, I promoted to sergeant. And now I was in charge of the guys that were training me on the team. That's where my fucking mindset was. My captain at the time saw that shit. The night before we went to SWAT school, he called me and said, apply for the SWAT sergeant position. I didn't ask him why. And I didn't feel like I didn't deserve that shit. Because this entire year, I'd been working my fucking ass off. I did the math a couple weeks ago. Throughout that entire year, I did over 73,000 push-ups And that's just one aspect.
In a year.
In that year leading up to SWAT school, I did over 73,000 push-ups.
Yeah, I'm good at math when I have a calculator. Let me figure that out. 73,000 divided by 365. That's 200 a day.
At least 200.
Did I do that right?
No. Yeah, that's. I remember it because I know I didn't count when we were training and they made us do push-ups. I didn't count that shit. I counted when I did push-ups on my own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when we went through SWAT school, everything that I envisioned about them trying to beat the fuck out of me, and me just smoking the fuck out of everything they throw in my path was happening. That shit was actually happening. The first day that they came. They ran us down to our obstacle course. The first day of SWAT, well, I guess day 0 is what they call it. It's like Saturday night going into Sunday morning. They threw me first on the obstacle course. They wanted to see if I was what I was about. I never really bragged. I still don't like to brag, but I smoked the obstacle course, and then we went to another evolution. Smoked that shit. We went to shooting. And I was smoking it, and then they had 2 instructors standing right here talking shit to me. You're gonna fucking miss, Peterson. You're gonna fucking miss. Squeeze on target every fucking round, because I had trained so fucking hard and pushed myself so fucking hard past everything that our SWAT team was assigning us to do. I was double, triple, quadrupling it, so that way when I came to SWAT school, I was gonna smoke the fuck out of it.
So what'd you get out of that? Like, what was your personal takeaway? Because that's odd, right? Like, that's not a normal.
I didn't know that. And honestly, like, I had a name for it. When I started devising...
Mamba mentality?
No. I told this to my wife, and she's like, that's a stupid name. You should name it something else. And I was like, it is a stupid name, but that's the name I had when I was going through. So I would devise these horrible workouts, and then I would just flip on the dumb switch. Because anyone in their right mind...
Dumb switch?
The dumb switch.
Okay.
Because anyone in their right mind would look at a workout like that and they're like, fuck that, I'm not doing that. Any reasonable, intelligent person would look at these workouts and be like, I'm not fucking doing that. I had carried so much weight. I added so much weight to my own gear that I actually had a bunch of microfractures up and down my shins when I went through SWAT school. And it fucking hurt to walk.
Did you just live with constant pain?
All the time. I felt like if I wasn't hurting, I wasn't training hard enough. And it didn't fucking count if I felt good in the workout. It's like I heard a quote from Muhammad
You're
Ali.
addicted to pain, bro.
That's the only way to fucking grow.
That's
you know
not
what
true,
I mean?
But I like that.
In my mind, it was the only way to fucking grow, to reach these heights and to accomplish these things and to achieve and pass everyone else in the field. I had to fight through the pain, and eventually I got addicted to the pain. Like I said, I heard a quote from Muhammad Ali. There was a reporter that asked him a question, how many sit-ups can you do? And he said, I don't know. I don't count till they start to hurt. And so to me, that was like, that shit, none of this shit where I'm feeling good running, lifting, and I'm feeling good, that shit don't count yet.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Yeah.
Do you feel that you're worthy of success?
Fuck yeah. I work my ass off.
What if you had worked your ass off? Would you still be worthy of success?
If I didn't work my ass off?
Mm-hmm.
I would say no.
Okay.
I would say no. I feel like if I'm gonna deserve something, if
I
I'm
didn't
gonna
say deserve, I said worthy.
If I'm gonna, well, I feel like if you're worthy, you deserve
things.
it. If I'm gonna be worthy of something, I need to earn that shit.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I don't want any handouts. You know what I mean? I don't like that.
Okay.
Even if we're going somewhere in uniform and at a restaurant, they're like, you get it for free. I'll pay for it because I don't like that. I don't like handouts.
Okay.
You know, I want to work from everything I got. Because to me, it's more valuable to me if I earn that shit myself.
So what does success mean to you then?
Success.
And are you successful? Do you consider yourself successful?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the first thing that pops in my mind is I'm a better father than my dad was. And I know if he was here, he would say the same thing. And that was the first and most important thing, that my kids didn't see that monster that is inside me. The way I was raised wasn't anything close to what my dad was, the way he was raised, but It was horrible, Bryce. It was horrible. And I have that demon inside me. I just learned to channel that into something a lot more constructive and something that's more beneficial for me. And that's why I was able to succeed and push myself and accomplish what I was able to accomplish. I mean, I didn't mention it, but day 2 in SWAT school, they were already recruiting me to apply for Salt Lake and their SWAT team. That's.
So how did you transition that? Because it sounds like to you SWAT was like the end all, but now you're not on it and you're a detective now.
That's a good question.
So
that's a really good question. So I achieved what I thought at the time was I'm at my peak right now. I can, if you throw any physical thing at me, I will fucking do it. And even I was even at that point I was over 200 pounds, and I had some of the guys on the team like, let's run a fucking marathon. And I was like, fuck it, send it. I hate running. And I was like, fuck, I don't give a fuck. I mean, I didn't run the marathon, but I was like, I don't give a fuck. I'll do it. But and it's still to this point, I don't give a fuck. I'll do it. It's gonna hurt, but I'm not afraid of the pain. I'm used to it. Me and pain, we go way back.
I'm excited for you in a future moment, if I can be candid with you for a second.
Yeah, please.
I'm gonna psychoanalyze you for a second on camera here.
Please, yeah.
Okay. So, and I've done a lot of coaching and stuff, and
sure.
And so I look at a guy like you, and I have a lot of love and compassion for you, because you've used your pain and your willingness to endure pain as a validation for your worth, and that has been something that has driven you. That you know there's no depth that you cannot muster to achieve a directive.
Hell yeah.
And a goal and objective.
Hell yeah.
That's a very beautiful thing to be able to have. It's like I think of there's very few creatures on this planet that have that gear. I mean, you look at like thoroughbred racehorses. They don't know their limit. That's why they will run until
they
dead.
die. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like there's something missing. It's a good thing, but there's something missing in there for you that's like making it to where like you seek and have craved that sort of just crucible of pain. It will come a point where it will be okay for you to put that away and to be willing to have just bliss and joy and comfort and luxury have its place while you use that gear to go kill the buffalo, so to speak. You're going to go do your business. You're going to go do your coaching. You're going to do, and you can keep it encapsulated in this place. It's almost like, a Kobe Bryant type thing. It's like those 48 minutes, fuck off.
Yeah.
And then I have this preparation, fuck off. Everything else, he was a great dad. He was a husband. Yeah. Like he was a good business person. Mm-hmm. So I see that for you too. There's going to come a point where you're going to be able to then like kind of see through the haze and not need everything to hurt so bad.
Yeah.
And know when you need it to hurt, know that you can. And that's really when things are going to take off for you in a really beautiful way and powerful way in every way. Because like, and I'm willing to bet as your wife listens back to that, like she's thinking like, yes. Like there's a hardness that can come with that desire for pain, but you get capped at a certain point because true joy, true happiness, true growth actually isn't hard. There comes a point where it's like you have to surrender to the idea that maybe my hard is letting it be easy. That's a mind fuck, bro. Like your new challenge.
Easy, that's not in my...
I know, but
that doesn't compute.
Okay, so how hard would that be for you to allow something to be easy? That could be your new struggle.
Well, to counter your point...
Yeah.
That's why I work so fucking hard.
Right.
So when I reach SWAT school, that shit would be easy.
Sure. But I'm talking about like, so that chapter of your life is done, right? Like you're not in SWAT anymore.
I mean, once like that mentality is going to be with me forever.
Oh, sure. The mentality. Yes. Yeah. I'm making no reference to.
Yeah. I mean, well, actually I served a warrant yesterday. So.
You served a warrant?
Yeah. I was on, we served a warrant.
Okay. How fun is that?
I mean, I love it. I miss it. You're
like,
I mean, I ran with the marshals for a few years. And for those few years, we had one of the greatest supervisors for the marshals, Daryl Spencer, who was the fucking man. he just orchestrated everything beautifully. And during those 3 years, it's VFAST, the Marshals Fugitive Team, averaged over 1,000 arrests per year.
Okay.
And just fucking, I mean, stories, Bryce.
I bet.
Stories.
I bet, dude. Like, you're dealing with a part of the population that has a little different way of thinking about things.
And that's part of the reason why I've pushed myself to maintain that level of pain, because a lot of these guys don't want to go back to prison. You know what I mean? They're not scared to go back to prison. Those two mentalities are terrifying.
Sure.
From a third party point of view. But I still, push myself to be more horrifying than them in my mind.
Okay.
Whether or not they saw me like that, I don't know. But in my mind, I was the monster.
I like the idea of there being a moment. Maybe I'm stepping on your toes in a way that's not fair, but I like the idea of you knowing that can be you, but it doesn't have to be a part of your identity.
No.
That your identity becomes something that you just know you've got that. And that almost becomes like this little, like, nobody needs to know. I will crush you, but you don't need to know. It's like
you walk in a room and you already know how you're going to kill somebody. Yo.
Yeah, or like the SWAT guys that you met the first time, and then when they walk in the room, you didn't know shit about them. They just felt away.
Yeah.
And you were like,
their aura, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I don't know. I like all that. Like, part of one of the reasons why I wanted to invite you on the show is I know you've got all this experience and really interesting things, and I love a good story. But there was a part as well that, you and I have spoken offline about, this desire that you have to help instill that sort of mentality into other people.
So that's that to kind of reference back to your original question. What do I do now?
Yeah.
Once I achieved that, I promoted to sergeant. I was top. Once I promoted to sergeant, now I'm responsible for 5 or 6 SWAT officers. Now they're my responsibility. It's more than just like, okay, you got to push yourself to be the best. Okay, now I got a team, and that team, everything that happens to that team is on me.
Yeah.
So now I transitioned over to, it's almost like I was kind of following the pattern my father was following, where he was just hardcore with me and just like a monster with me at times. And then he transitioned over to like a teacher, an instructor. And I folled his footsteps in that.
So it's like in Kung Fu Panda, man. Like you become Oogway or whatever.
Shifu, man.
Shifu?
You know what I mean?
Okay.
But I can still.
That's turtle and not the mouse?
The mouse is Shifu.
Okay.
I got kids.
Okay. They know who you're talking
I got kids. But
Life is a present.
That's right. But and then after that, I promoted to lieutenant to the academy for correctional officers, and I brought that same mindset, and it was kind of a whole circle where I walked into the room with these brand new cadets, and they looked at me how I feel like I was looking at the SWAT guys a few years earlier. The difference was I was going to instill my mindset in each and every single one of the cadets, or I was going to get them the fuck out of my class.
That was going to be my follow-up question with this. So how do you handle it when mediocrity is okay in the mind of somebody that you're dealing with?
I pushed the class to where they stepped the fuck up and met me at my expectations, or they quit. And I didn't give a fuck. My supervisor, his supervisor, they're like, no, we need as many of these guys as we can because the prison is running low. The jails are running low on staff. And I was like, I'm not going to fucking put out quantity. I'm putting out quality. I don't give a shit if 3 guys finish my class. They're going to be the fucking top 3 from any of these classes. I pushed all my cadets. So
what does that mean to push them?
I led from the front. Every time we had PT, anytime we had DT, PT's physical training, DT's defensive tactics, everything that I could lead from the front, I did. Any class I could teach, I did. Just to instill my mindset, just to instill the verbiage and the expectations of myself. And so that way, if they look at me And they're like, well, he's not even taking a break. He's holding himself to these standards. How the fuck am I not supposed to be able, how am I just going to skate by? And I pushed them and I called them out one by one. I instilled a level of respect. So when the instructors were in the room, they were quiet as a fucking church mouse. And I would watch them like a fucking hawk. And if they made a fucking sound or were disrespectful to the instructors, I had them do push-ups right there in the fucking classroom until they collapsed to instill respect. And that's also training their bodies.
Yeah.
When they have the test they got to take, I make sure to prepare them as much as I can, help them study, make sure they're getting study groups together, making sure they're having all the materials so they're prepared. Everything I did for myself, I taught them.
So you set the standard.
Exactly, and set the tone on what the academy was going to be like.
Okay.
I've had, every time my class graduated, I've had, the warden, deputy wardens, captains would always come up to me and be like, we know when it's your cadets as opposed to the other instructors. We know when it's yours. They come in and they're ready to work. They're ready to learn. And I always put that responsibility on them. It's like, you guys know when you're down there working, if some shit hits the fan, you're somebody's backup. And you better make sure they go fucking home. And if your shit's not together and you're fucking slacking off and that person gets hurt, that's on you.
How often does that happen where guards get hurt?
When I was down there, not too often, but when they get hurt, they get fucked up. Because the inmates know if they cross that line, they're in serious trouble. So when they do cross that line, they cross the fuck out of that line. You know what I mean?
Count.
Yeah. So
wow.
It's just and it was really cool to see. I ran into one of my old cadets a couple months ago at the jail, and it was my first class I had when I transitioned from the SWAT team to the academy. And he told me, he's like, hey, so-and-so's on the SWAT team, so-and-so's on the SWAT team, so-and-so's a sergeant, so-and-so's running a K-9, so-and-so's, with the marshals. And it was like a proud dad moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I pushed all you fucking kids as hard as you could, and look at where you're at. You found it within yourself, that dumb switch. You switched that dumb switch on, and you just fucking went, and you did it. And you busted your ass, and look at where you're at.
So I have a question for you then, because in the last couple of years, police have gotten a bad rap.
Mm-hmm.
How much of it is earned and how much of it is bullshit, the way that they're perceived?
I would say I've been in law enforcement for 14 years. I can count on 4 fingers the officers who I know are pieces of shit.
And when you say that, define what that means. Are they racist? Are they crooked? Are they what is they doing? All the above?
Just a complete lack of respect for who we're dealing with. So for me, even though I was working in the prison, I still spoke and interacted with the inmates like they're human beings, because they're fucking human beings.
Of course, yeah.
They've committed some atrocious crimes, some of them. And some of them not as horrible as the others, but it didn't matter. Every single one of them I treat like a human being.
Yeah, they're a person. Yeah.
They're absolutely a person, and 90% of them are going to come back out to society. And I've seen a few officers in the prison, outside on the streets, just have a complete lack of respect for people, and I can't fuck with people like that. I can't stand people that actively disrespect someone else.
Right. Have you ever been around a situation where somebody was unlawfully killed by law enforcement?
No.
Good.
But I jumped in the way.
Really?
Before someone actually was.
Wow. Can you tell that story?
I won't name names.
Of course. I don't want to.
There was a situation.
His name was Bob. Just kidding.
How did you know? No. There's a situation where there was a fugitive that was on the run. This officer had made contact with them. I knew this fugitive. I had interacted with this fugitive. I've arrested this fugitive previously, and he and I had a decent rapport. You know, I wasn't a dick to him. I arrested him, but I wasn't a dick to him, and he wasn't disrespectful to me. Anyway, so this officer knew where he was because this fugitive called him and said, "Hey, I'm going to turn myself in. I'm going to be over here. You can come pick me up." Like, and so this officer came and grabbed me. He's like, "Hey, can you roll with me to go pick him up?" Yeah, for sure. So we roll over there. Dude's sitting there just like he said. The officer pulls the car up to where I was in the passenger. He pulls up to where my door's right by him, like 3-4 feet away. I open the door. He jumps out, pulls his gun. He's like, "Get your fucking hands in the air." I jump in the way. I was like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa." And he's telling the officer, "Fucking shoot me. Fucking do it. I called you here. Fucking shoot me." And I jumped in the middle. I mean, I knew he had his gun out, and I knew I didn't know. I was hoping he wouldn't shoot if I jumped in the middle. Because I knew this dude. Yeah, he committed a lot of shitty crimes, but I knew him. You know what I mean? He had 2 little girls, you know what I mean? And I knew the officer too. Right. And so I jumped in the middle, and I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa." And I was like, "Hey, hold on, chill out." I was like, "Put your fucking gun away, dude." And so he chilled out eventually. It took him a couple minutes to kind of like come down from the black. And I pulled the fugitive aside. I was like, "Hey, man, like, just, you good? We're good. Like, I got this. Like, you're with me. Okay, I'll make sure nothing happens. Like, I got you." He's like, fucking Peterson, like, what the fuck is that, dude? I called him to, like, pick me up. I told him where the fuck I was.
Did you ever get to talk to that officer after the fact and be like, "Yo, bro, what the fuck?"
Not in those words, but
it's called a rear naked choke and BJJ, you know?
Yeah, man. And, and it's just, and I can't fuck with people like that. You know what I mean?
Well, it's just disrespectful. It's an escalation of a situation that 100% did not need escalation.
But that, and that's true. And that being said, that's a very small percentage of the law enforcement officers that I've interacted with. I'd say 99% of the law enforcement, that I've interacted with, try their very fucking best.
Okay, so let's break that down. Because I really want to break this mold of this narrative about, because right now it's very easy. It's so simple to be like, "Yo, cops suck, man." And there's this defund the police nonsense, like all this stuff. I mean, they're walking it back, which is hilarious. But so you said you've known 4 cops that were shit. How many cops would you say over the course of your 14 years, in a cumulative number, have you met?
$700, $800.
Okay, so 70. So you're looking then at, so if you're saying, let's go 700 to be fair. So 10% of that's 70. 1% of that is 7. So you're talking about 0.5% basically of the cops out there are shit.
In my experience.
In your experience. Okay. So I think that's fair. So if you look at how many police officers are there in the United States total, do you have any idea?
Millions. I don't know.
Millions, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a bigger number than if you have 0.5%. So let's say there's 2 million.
Absolutely.
Then you have 2,000 shit cops is 1%. Or half, so that'd be 1,000 shit cops is going to be, that's a lot of cops, man.
That's a lot of cops.
So that means the standards got to be high. That's why they're making.
And those.
Are you cool with measures like having to have body cam and all that stuff to keep accountability for police?
Hell yeah.
Good.
Hell yeah. I still cuss on camera. You know what I'm saying? Like, but like.
I don't think the cussing is the problem.
I mean, we're not supposed to.
Is that you're not supposed to say
We're
bad
not
words?
supposed to. But
Excuse me, sir. Would you please pull your Impala over or whatever?
That's been the hardest transition for me is like, my try not to cuss. But yeah, I mean, I came from the prison. I came from, the SWAT team. I came from, the fugitive task force. So that's the lingo. That's how they talk. That's how I talked. But when I'm going to, the nice little old lady down the street that's calling because, she's hearing noises in the backyard, I can't talk to her like that. And I shouldn't talk to her like that. You know what I mean? So
that sounds like a comedy is what it'd be like.
It's like, there's no one fucking back here. What are we doing? No.
Yo, bitch, what you...
But yeah, to kind of get back to your point, man, I can't stand cops like that. There are cops like that. There are. And there's probably more than I know of, obviously, that I interacted with, even myself. But they have no place in law enforcement. They need to get the fuck out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it sounds like that good cops are squeezing them out. That what's happening?
I fucking hope so. And there's a ton of great cops. There's a ton of great cops. that bust their ass every day, that are working hours they're not getting paid for to try and help, at least in our detectives unit, that are really trying to help solve these cases for these victims and be there for them and get them the resources they need and do whatever they can to help, restore some semblance of normalcy for these people. It's not in our job description to do that, but that's the type of people that they are.
So before we talk about your coaching and some of those things there, I got kind of I've always wondered about this. And because you're a detective for family crimes, I feel safe asking you this without it blowing you up. So you always hear these stories of these big busts where there's lots of cash involved. Mm-hmm. And a cop comes on the scene and there's $200,000 or something that's sitting there. You're telling me that there's not a P&A fee the cop gets to skim off that stack of racks on that?
Look, if it was up to me, we're taxing the shit out of that. Hell yeah. You know what I mean?
Because with the civil search and seizure law, it would make sense that you could as a cop. But I mean, I'm not cool with that regardless, because I have another one of my guests. Actually, I would recommend you listen to this podcast. Okay. Go back and listen to the Weston Winter episode. He was raided by the DEA in Colorado. He had a legal cannabis operation, and he got caught in this thing that was a federal deal. He was legally able to, in the state of Colorado, do that, and the feds came in on this weird thing, and it ended up costing about $1 million because they took a bunch of his shit and he couldn't ever get it back, and it took he went to jail, the whole thing, and he was 100% legal. He'd never done nothing wrong.
Damn.
And so it's every time I hear stories like that, I'm where'd all your money go? He's I don't know, somewhere. Those fucking cops took it. So
I don't know. I know I booked money in evidence.
Okay.
I should know. I've been a cop for 14 years. I don't know what happens to the money. I don't know if it goes to the city. I mean, I'm not driving in a G-Wagon or anything, but no.
I'm not a cop either. So
yeah, you're smart. You're smart. I think I heard back in the day when the marshals would seize vehicles.
Yeah.
Once it cleared, their court cases and all that stuff, they turned them around and used them as undercover cars.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes me want to be undercover. So
it's a lot of fun.
One of my favorite movies is that new Miami Vice movie. Well, it's not new anymore, but had Colin Farrell and Jamie Foxx in it, where they're in Miami-Dade, they're down in South Beach, and then they did that task force. There's an inner agency task force because there was a leak, and they ended up, getting into this big, massive drug ring and stuff. But he's driving around an F430 Ferrari. They're on he's got these cigar go-fast boats that's a part of their cover and everything. I'm and the other part of that movie that I thought was interesting, and I don't know if you've ever seen this before, is they had informants that so if there was a drug deal that would go down and it was a multi-million-dollar deal, these informants would get a cut, 15% of the cut for lining it up.
So I don't think our CIs get a cut of anything like that, but I know most agencies pay CIs.
Okay.
They pay them.
Is it good pay, or is it here's a gift card to Red Robin, don't use it all at once?
Let me put it this way. From my experience, what I've seen, the marshals CIs got paid enough that some of them made that their full-time job, snitching. So, yeah, so they can get paid.
Dude, that's that one character in that Miami Vice show. He's got this penthouse. He's on the top floor of this thing in down on Biscayne Boulevard. And they're you live a life of crime. That's why you have to get Anyway, wow.
Yeah.
What a crazy world, man. Do you believe the war on drugs is good, or do you think it's stupid?
I seen some horrific things that drugs do. So yeah, I mean, I know it's we're barely putting a dent in it, but at least I
think it's because it's a misappropriation of what actually needs. Weed, fuck out of here, dude. Leave it alone. Alcohol, sure. The fentanyl stuff coming across the border, a lot of those hard drugs, keep them away.
Yeah. I mean, meth, heroin, that stuff, it just tears people up.
Yeah.
Tears people up. And, I know it'll never be solved, probably.
It's because humans are always they're always looking for ways to sedate themselves.
People are always looking for it. You know what I mean? It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and you hear about these busts on the border. These cartels, they do that shit on purpose. They send a decoy car on purpose so that these 4 or 5 other trucks coming through, they get by because you busted this one with 2-3 pounds of dope.
That's the thing that makes me laugh. That people like think these cartels are just a bunch of like tribal savages. And I'm like, bro, they are more organized than
that shit is a well-oiled machine. Unfortunately,
dude, it's a corporation at that point. Like we're talking, this is Apple or Google or some shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's respectable in one way, but it's like, I mean, really, that's your product? And the whole idea of like a decoy and things like that, like they calculate for loss.
Yeah, it's just like any retail business. Yeah. They crunch in the numbers like, okay, we're gonna have this
our loss
for
prevention
our loss
is gonna be 7%, and we're gonna be fine.
Yeah, exactly. They still rake in more money than what they know what to do with.
I'm curious how if it's been a banner year for the cartels because of how civvy the border is, and you can just walk right across and all that shit.
I mean,
according to our vice president, our border's secure, which is good to know. But 200,000 migrants a month.
I'm a man.
I don't
I'm
know,
wearing
man.
a gray shirt.
That seems so secure. Anyway, all right. So you have a desire to help other dudes get this dumb switch.
Anybody, you know what I mean? And anyone can achieve this, but hardly anyone can. It's a little confusing. Anyone can achieve this, but hardly anyone will.
Okay.
Not anyone can. Sorry, anyone will, because this shit is not easy, right? It's not easy at all to find your limit and push through that shit every single day. It's easy to find your limit.
It's simple. It's not easy. There's very few steps.
Oh no, when you start to hurt, like, oh fuck, there it is.
Yeah,
that's it. And that's where most people like they push till it hurts. Yeah, no pain, no gain. Yeah, that's true. More than you know. And I just want to help people achieve that. I came from very modest beginnings. I still have a modest life right now. I'm not in it for fame or fortune. I'm in it because I have this knowledge. And like you said, now what? It's doing nothing sitting here with me. And I woke up this morning 3 and I went running this morning. And I hit the gym before I already got here. What's that? Okay, I'm doing good. I'm about to hit 40 and my kids still can't keep up with me. That's a proud dad moment, but who's that going to benefit? You know what I mean? So it's just taking a page out of my dad's book and taking a page out of my own life experience, seeing the cadets in the academy, seeing my guys on the SWAT team really benefit from my mindset and being able to push them and help kind of push them through it. Instead of like, here's what you do. Okay, fucking go do it.
Yeah.
No,
I love that, man. Like there's the men nowadays, especially, they crave leadership. They crave guidance. They want to be a part of a tribe.
Well, it's a different society nowadays. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We grew up in where, action movies was like Arnold and Stallone and Van Damme. And they're just shooting and killing everybody and just like jump kicking the shit out of everybody.
Don't forget that Christmas movie, Die Hard, man.
That's right. Yippee-ki-yay. But it's a different, it's a different society. We've really grown in a lot of areas in society, but I think we've digressed in some areas too. And I think that one of the areas is having that mindset of like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. And I can fucking do it, and I'm gonna fucking show you.
Well, to add to that, society has made it, all of the things that make you miserable are being touted as okay now. Like things like being lazy and porn. And
we got delivery services for every fucking thing in the world now.
Yeah, I know.
You can never leave the house. I mean, I know the pandemic kind of ushered that in even quicker, but we were headed that way. You can order anything from the house, and you never have to leave the fucking house.
Yeah. Well, there's other aspects of that too that I think that you're about that are great. It's like people dressing sloppy, and just not giving a shit. Like actually not having.
It's
goals.
like have some self-respect. Yeah. You know what I mean? Present yourself. Like
when there's no borders or like anything or boundaries but put in place on what is required, it's actually more painful for children and adults to live. Like we need to know where the line is because it creates psychological safety.
People need structure. A lot of, in order to really understand what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, what you can do, what you can't, what you shouldn't do. Our kids at home, we structure the hell out of them. You know what I mean? I don't like the way where everything's okay, everything's allowed, everybody gets a medal. No.
Yeah, it's not life.
No, that's not real life. And like you said, if I were to do that with my kids, I'm setting my kids up to fail.
Well, what a crazy thing that the only reason ideas like that, as far as like the participation trophies and all that, the only way ideas like that take place is in a society that is so wealthy that you're bored. Nobody has to fight for shit. It's not like you're worried about the cougar killing your camp in the middle of the night. Like there's no fear.
No.
And so we manufacture fear because Joe Rogan talks about this really eloquently, where he says that if you look at like the history of revolutions specific to development, so you had like the Renaissance was a revolution of expression and creativity of sorts, with all these new books and paintings and Michelangelo and philosophy.
Yeah, I think Plato. I remember him kind of mentioning that cycle.
Yeah, and then he's like, we had the Industrial Revolution, and and it took people out of the farm fields and into the cities, and they're building this shit and everything. And then you had the trains became planes and cars, and then now we're in a technological revolution with how quickly information is disseminated. And he says we're fucking it up because our brains can't handle it. Like we are shitting the bed every day with how we handle the onslaught of having endless amount of information. We have more. Everybody has a supercomputer in their pocket.
Yeah.
Like social media, the way that it plays with your dopamine levels and the way that you seek and crave attention from likes and engagement and all the stuff that's there. Like we're truly idiots. We can't handle it. No. And so what's happening then is because of that, we are having manufactured crises be a new way of us overcoming some sort of thing. So instead of, we avoided the saber-toothed tiger and ended up killing him, and now we're going to have that for dinner, and that's our, now it's like, we've taken up these bigots that don't put their pronouns in their bio or whatever, and we make give stories legs that are bullshit.
Well, it's like, and I agree with you completely. It's like this generation sees history, what they had to go through. You know what I mean? And all the struggles and the shit that they had to go through. And now, I'm not saying there isn't shit nowadays, but it's nothing compared to, history and some of the horrible shit they had to go through. You know what I mean?
Well, this is how we know the shit that we're talking about is nonsensical. It goes away when you turn your TV off.
And that's to your point that you're exactly right. So they fabricate something like, I'm going through some shit too.
Yeah.
You're fucking not. You're not.
You're like, is it so hard to have a supercomputer that
when I first
Google anything literally?
I might get tore up for this, and you can tear me up if you want, but when I first heard about cyberbullying, I fucking thought that shit was a fucking joke.
Like, is this a Saturday Live skit?
I was like, cyberbullying? They're making fun of me on the internet. Well, fucking get off the site.
Yeah.
Block them. Turn off your phone. Like, solved.
Yeah. If you're the family crime scene, like cyberbullying actually has a lot of. It's a weird thing, man, because it's like
that's when I first heard about it.
Those kids give attention to that.
Everyone's so entrenched online now.
Yeah,
everyone's life is online now.
Did you by chance watch it when Zuckerberg was on Rogan recently?
No, I didn't. I've been meaning to watch that, actually.
So he was talking about, Facebook is now called Meta, is the parent company. And he is like this geek that's total into the AR, VR space, like augmented realities. Mm-hmm. And he's talking about like what they've been working on lately is like they're trying to create deeper emotional connection online. And so like in these augmented reality or virtual reality spaces, one of the things that's missing is eye contact. And so they have these new technology and the Oculus stuff that like you can legitimately look at somebody's eyes and digitally those two mechanisms are like, and there's all sorts of more like facial expression shit that's going on there. And I'm like, bro, this is some Minority Report shit here. Dude.
Have you seen that movie Ready Player One?
Yeah, I love that movie.
That's what I think of when you were explaining that.
Yeah.
Everybody's in their house all hooked up to their virtual reality shit. they're totally disconnected from the real world and just so focused and obsessed with being online.
Yeah.
That's the fucking...
You saying that reminds me of that opening scene where it shows like the chick on the stripper pole in her freaking trailer or whatever.
Yeah. That's right. She got her fucking big ass goggles on and
virtual stripping, bro. Like, are they throwing bitcoins at her from the stage or some shit? Like,
make your money, dude. You know, don't...
Cha-cha-ching, cha-cha-ching. Anyway, dude. So I don't know, man. I'm excited to kind of watch you continue to thrive and to grow more in that space of leadership for men, because this morning, as I shared earlier, I got to hang out a little bit with Tim Grover, and he said something about leadership that made me think of what you're talking about here. And he says that leaders don't think, leaders know. He's like, if you find yourself thinking as a leader, you need to fucking step out and know. Do your research. Like, a leader isn't somebody that sits up and goes, you know what I think we should do? This is what I think we should do. A leader shows up and goes, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And here's why we're doing it.
Agreed. Wholeheartedly.
And there's a different power with that. And he talked about how, both Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, those guys, they led from the front, which was a phrase I heard you say, and they required a lot of everybody around them. And they were fine to be isolated and to be alone sometimes and to like have to deal with, the other pot that I shared over in that example of like where it's late nights and early mornings and sometimes it's lonely and winning is a bitch.
Multiple times a day, like every day, day in, day out.
Winning's a bitch, but it's addictive.
It is, Bryce. It is. And when you actually see what you can accomplish by pushing past what you thought was your limit, it'll blow your fucking mind. I know you've been there.
Yeah.
I know, from what we've talked about before, you've accomplished that. So you can speak to it yourself, and so, but it's for people that feel like I'm not built like that. You know what I mean? I wasn't built like this when I tried out for the SWAT team. I was 30 pounds heavier. I thought I was the fucking man. No, I had to find that within myself, but I'm not. The key here is you don't have to dig like I did by myself. You don't have to try and locate it and do a soul searching and trying to find that place inside yourself. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. Well, the idea of, Roger Bannister was the guy that first ran a 4-minute mile,
Yeah.
And it was crazy. That record had never been broken. And then once it was,
they said it was
everybody
not
could
humanly
break it.
possible, yeah.
And then afterwards, everybody did it.
It was like 3 months later, someone else broke it.
So there's something to be said of a living example in front of you to inspire you and show you what's possible because of how our brains work, dude. Like our brains copy everything. Mm-hmm. If we can see somebody else doing it, it legitimately shortens the time of what it would actually take if you had no point of reference of how to actually achieve
Exactly.
that.
Exactly.
It's a beautiful thing.
You put the fucking blinders on and just go to work.
Go to work. Yeah, he said too as well, he's like, everybody's told to reach for the stars. You want to reach for the stars? He goes, when do you see the stars best? When it's nighttime. It's dark everywhere.
Yes, sir.
So get in the dark, my man.
I love it, man. I love it. I love working.
Like, Timmy, shut up.
I love it.
Killing it.
I love it.
So, Producer C, you got any current events for us or no?
Not today.
Not today. No current event. You're so special. Your brother decided to not do his job, and I'm just kidding.
He knew. He's like, man, my brother won't shut the hell up. He'll just talk the whole time.
Which is fine, dude. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
No,
man.
I thanks for having me. I was really excited about it.
Dude, this is fun. Like you're a rare breed nowadays, man. Like the true alpha that just doesn't put up with nonsense and pushes forward. And I can sense even, like I can tell you're a hard ass, but there's a benevolence there too. Like there's a tenderness I can tell that's there.
Well, I attribute that to my dad as well and my sweetheart. She taught me a lot of things, about, like you said, you don't have to be hard all the time. She really helped, introduce that idea to me a lot sooner than I thought. But I'm grateful for that too, because to try and keep it on the whole time, my kids don't want to grow up like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's aspects where, I institute that, but they don't want to grow up like that. I don't, that's how I grew up, on edge all the time. And so you're right,
Well, it makes it tough to like have them feel a safety towards coming to you if you're always
exactly.
prickly.
I don't want to be unapproachable. Yeah. You know what I mean? I know my kids are gonna go through some shit and they're gonna make some stupid decisions. I still want to be that dad where they feel, they can approach me without like, I'm going to rip their fucking head off. I don't want to be like that.
Their mom will do it.
Please. But there's a time and a place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just, I can't remember who I heard say this, but it was a SEAL. And he said, even after you're done, like for me, it's SWAT, you got to reestablish yourself as a savage. Yeah. You got to maintain that. And that really stuck with me lately. I'm still trying to learn. I'm still trying to grow. I still push myself physically, but now it's more of the mental side of things where I'm just really trying to expand, my idea on how else I can push myself to be better.
I'm excited for you to reach that point where you're like, my challenge is I got to make things easy. And that's going to be your hard.
I can't wait for that too.
Yeah, you're like, it's so fucking hard to make it easy, man. It's going to be fun to watch.
I know. I can't
Beautiful
wait.
thing, man. You see it happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it even happened to Kobe, dude. He retired. He didn't lose his savagery. Like, I heard stories of him as an investor.
I mean, he won an Oscar.
He won an Oscar for sure. So there's a guy that I've been following for a long time. His name's Chris Sacca. He's the CEO and founder of a venture cap fund called Lowercase Capital, and they were one of the first. They invested in Twitter and Instagram first. Like, they were Uber. Like, this guy's, I think he's my age. 40.
I mean, I think Kobe got in Body Armor pretty early on too.
Under Armour, yeah. It was Body Armor first, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But Chris would tell these stories. He's like, he'd get these messages from like Kobe at like 3 a.m, where he's just like, bro, I'm researching this thing, and I'm trying to, like, so he was relentless in whatever he did. But
It's that same mindset.
Yeah, but he also was like, his primary job at that time was to be a dad. He wanted his daughters to play in the WNBA. He wanted to be the best dad possible. It's one of those things where like I have myself getting angry sometimes, and I think about the unnecessary passing that he went through. Just don't fucking fly the helicopter when it's out there foggy, motherfucker.
Oh man. He
But
just
there's a
flew
part
that
of me-
so many times.
Well,
though,
dude, there's a
what I mean?
part of me though that was like where Kobe might have been like, yeah, I don't give a shit. Let's do it, bro.
Yeah.
Like, he was hard.
He's like, nah, she got a game. We're going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that too.
Anyway, what a way to end the conversation.
R.I.P. Kobe.
Yeah. So, Dane Peterson, where do people find you?
Well, we're working on that right now.
Okay.
So,
Got an IG
right
or
now you
anything?
can find me at Sandy PD if you want to meet me in person. But no Instagram. No, I'm off the grid.
You're
man.
the guy. You're the one guy that doesn't have it.
So yeah,
Okay.
no social media. That's how unplugged and focused I was on getting my shit together and pushing myself to the next level. I wanted no distractions.
Okay. Well, we got to change that.
I know
Coach.
that's got to change now. And I got my brother here to help me with that side of things. That's where he excels. And so, yeah, we're gonna work on that.
Okay. Well, then I guess if you're in the Salt Lake City area and you get pulled over, say Dane Peterson was heard on Stand Up's podcast, and maybe they'll give you a warning.
Or if they don't like me, they might give you a bigger tip.
Yeah, like, I remember that dude. He got in the way when I was trying to
Fuck
shoot
Dane.
a motherfucker.
Fuck Dane.
Anyway, okay, guys. So, again, thanks so much for listening and watching Stand Up. If this message resonated with anything we talked about was good, please share with a friend. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe on iTunes. Subscribe on iTunes. And if you wouldn't mind, if you really liked it, go to iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating and review.
Hell yeah.
And until next time, see you.